I feel so blessed to live in such a beautiful part of the country. I'm next to the oceans and mountains and surrounded by thousands of trees. Being here makes me want to be closer to nature and live a more simple and peaceful life. But I also live right in the middle of the suburbs, which can sometimes contradict that feeling. I always wanted to have a homestead where I could farm my own healthy foods and raise animals, and while that may not seem very possible when you live in the middle of town, I'm here to tell you that it is.
When you think of the word homesteading, I think it's easy to imagine it being acres and acres of land somewhere far out in the countryside. But I don't think the modern homestead has to be that way. I think it can look a lot different than that. For me, homesteading is more about a state of mind or a lifestyle than a piece of property or where you live. I think more and more people, especially nowadays, we just want to take back control of the foods that we eat, what we're putting in our body, and how things are grown, and living a healthier and a more self-sufficient sort of lifestyle. And I think you can do that whether you have a piece of property or even if you live in an apartment. There are so many ways to grow food on a small scale that doesn't take a lot of space. And I think the foods that you end up getting are going to be so much healthier and tastier and definitely less expensive than what you're going to find in the store.
My house is one of the original homes in the area. It was built in 1900, and according to my neighbor who has lived here his whole life, it was a true original homestead. They moved the barn, which is now my garage, and built extensions onto the house, but the core of the house is still the original structure, and I think the heart of this property is still a homestead. So I wanted to continue that legacy and bring that lifestyle back to this home.
I'm going to start with my chickens first because they've always been part of this house. Um, Not these particular chickens, but they've always had chickens here at this house from a long time ago. And when I bought the house, the owner left 3 chickens behind. So that was my first introduction to raising chickens. And ever since then, it's been a really fun experience. I really love having them. And I think they're such an essential thing to have on your farm or mini homestead, whatever you want to call it. They're just such a great animal to have. They're really low maintenance. They are really easy to take care of, and you get fresh eggs every day. I mean, you can't beat that. When I first moved into this house, there was a small coop in this area inside here, but it didn't really work out really well. So I expanded it and built an addition on the side of my shed, and that has worked out really well, except for my broken glass window that I've done a temporary duct tape repair job to. But I enlarged the chicken run so they have lots of room to run around and get outside and forage through the dirt. And I'll throw chicken or kitchen scraps in and or garden scraps, and they seem to really like that. And I'll let them out of the pen every once in a while, but they tend to tear up the garden, so I don't let them out very often. It's also safer to keep them here, and it's in a more secured area because we have some wild animals that like chicken as much as I do and will harm them, so this keeps them safe. And the best part is collecting eggs. So I have this door, and I didn't collect yesterday, so like look how many eggs that I have just from missing one day of collecting. So it is awesome to get fresh eggs every day, and there's nothing like fresh eggs. They taste so much better than store-bought eggs.
Okay, so now for the garden. There were already raised beds there and plants, but they were really overgrown and weeds had taken over all over the place, and all of the wood on the raised bed boxes were severely deteriorated. It was definitely time for a rebuild. First thing I did was grab the shovel and start digging. I ended up doing a lot of shoveling during this project. I removed all of the old and deteriorated wood from the old raised beds and replaced them with these metal raised beds. With the price of lumber these days, these metal beds actually cost about the same as it would be to build new ones. So I thought it was a better choice because these are actually going to be a lot more durable and last a lot longer. But then I had to fill those raised beds again, so that meant more shoveling for me. This might sound kind of superficial, but not only did I want a functional garden, but I also wanted it to be pretty and look nice and be visually pleasing. So I really like the idea of adding some arched trellises to the garden, but they are so expensive. So I decided to go with a DIY version, which was to use these 16-foot cattle panels and enlisting the help of my daughter to help me get them installed. And the nice thing about this is that I think they look great and they only cost me $30 a piece. I wasn't quite done with my project yet, but it was already the middle of summer, so I wanted to get some plants started as soon as I could. Now, I really don't know what I was doing, and I'm still learning about gardening, but the chickens seem to like it so far. The last step was to add some wood chips to the garden. Now, if you're ever in the need of wood chips, I would highly recommend Chip Drop. It's a free service that will deliver wood chips from local arborists straight to your door for absolutely free. The only caveat is that you cannot specify how much you get or when you will get it. You just have to accept however much they give you and whenever they're able to do it. But hey, it's free. I was lucky enough to have enough to complete my whole project and even have extra to share with my neighbors. I was still learning how to grow things, so not all of my plants were successful, but some of them were. I was able to get corn. My cucumbers did really well. I was also able to get some snap peas and kale, and I got a ton of tomatoes. I also planted some raspberry and blueberry bushes, and hopefully they'll be able to produce some fruit for me next season. But it is fall now and the garden is hibernating for the winter. But I am so excited to get started on this again in the spring. In fact, I have some garlic already planted and I am so excited to see how that turns out and can't wait to harvest that next year. But in the meantime, I will be renovating my greenhouse that I have in my backyard. It's such a great space, but I have severely neglected it over the years. It is just full of junk and trash and really dirty, and I need to get it cleaned up. I want to use it for what it's meant to be used for now that I have my garden and get some plants started earlier in the spring. So I hope you come back and stay tuned to see how that renovation project goes. Thank you so much for watching and continuing to support me. I hope this inspires you to create your own little homestead wherever it is that you live. Happy holidays, and I wish you the best. Hope to see you soon. Take care.